All right, so this is a breakdown of It, season 1 or episode 1. And after that review, you can check my review of what I thought about episode 1. That shocking moments in there, it really left me impressed. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else this season's going to have to offer. But I love these breakdowns because some of these YouTubers be revealing stuff that I never noticed. I'll be checking out different YouTube channels on different things I've watched. And I'll be like, dang, I did not know that. Interesting. And this one is from Screen Crush. So let me hold up. I'll put the original video in the description below. But I'm interested in seeing if there's anything I missed in this episode. I'm probably going to do something like this every episode. Because after that episode 1, I am invested. And I don't want to miss anything. So, someone told me that, and I wonder if he's going to bring it up. Someone told me that a character in episode 1 was in The Shining. I was like, really? He said, yeah, I forgot his name. I'm pretty sure they'll show it here, but let's see. I'll pause it when I see him.
To the brim with Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed.
Oh,
Not only
71 of
nods
them?
to the films and the book, but other Stephen King stories and characters.
Yeah,
as
I've
well,
never
such
read.
as my personal
Yeah,
favorite,
see?
The Shining. So let's break this thing down. Hey, welcome back to Screen Crush. I'm Colton Ogburn, and It, Welcome to Derry takes place in the same universe as It chapters 1 and 2, but 27 years prior to the Losers Club first encounter with the dancing clown. And listen, I am going to talk about the movies and the book, which could potentially spoil what we see happen in this season, so spoiler warning.
I've never read the books at all. All I know is the movies.
The entity of It is a cosmic being and shapeshifter that crash landed on Earth hundreds of millions of years ago and that now feeds on the residents of what has become Derry, Maine. Every 27 years following its slumber, it awakens and feeds on the people of Derry, especially children because they're easier to scare, and it feeds on fear. And we should also mention that this episode is cleverly titled The Pilot. Not only is it the first episode of the series, which is called a pilot episode, but it's also an episode where we meet the lead of the show, Leroy Hanlon, a pilot. So we open in a movie theater where The Music Man is playing. The Music Man was released in 1962, which is when this series is taking place, and that film is based on the 1957 Broadway musical of the same name written by Meredith Willson. And the choice of this particular film was absolutely brilliant because The Music Man is about a con artist posing as a music professor, and he is scamming small town people into buying instruments and uniforms with the promise that he'll form a band and teach their kids music. But he actually knows nothing about music. He's a swindler. So, a lying, cheating deceiver who pretends to be something he's not in order to take advantage of children for his own personal gain.
Sounds familiar?
Sound like anyone you know?
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, listen to what the character of Harold Hill is saying in this clip.
Mothers of River City, heed that warning before it's too late. Watch for the telltale signs of corruption.
This warning he's giving is eerily relevant to the story at hand and the It novel itself, which follows kids on the cusp of puberty, going out on their own, and getting into trouble. That trouble being It. Oh, and I should also mention that The Music Man was distributed by Warner Brothers, that owns and produces the It films as well as this series. So they likely had no trouble whatsoever getting the rights to use this film in the series, and later, like when they superimposed Maddie into the film, they likely didn't have to go through any red tape because they owned the movie.
And that scene was...
Little Maddie Clemens, he has snuck into the theater because, as we'll hear Hank mention, he has a horrible home life. We also see that he is sucking on a pacifier. Now, a child of this age sucking on a pacifier can often be a sign of trauma and stunted emotional growth and neglect, and it's a form of regression and a comforting exercise, I guess you could say, for a young mind that hasn't received
That's what
the
I thought. He
attention
used
and
it
care
to
that
calm himself
deserves,
down.
and they use the pacifier in order to cope. Now, here in the lobby, as Maddie runs away from this usher, we see a poster for the 1962 film Geronimo. Now, this usher, he is a perfect representation of how many of the people in Derry have no empathy. Many of Derry's residents are cruel and vindictive, and this is a result of the rot that sleeps beneath Derry, the entity of It. Its evil, even when hibernating, radiates throughout Derry. Now, as Maddie makes his way out of Derry, seemingly running away from home, we see him passing this Welcome to Derry sign that features Paul Bunyan, and later in the episode, we see in this newspaper that they're constructing a Paul Bunyan statue, the same statue that we see here in It Chapter 2. Now, it's also on this billboard that we see this logo for the Legion of White Decency. This is the same group from the It novel that caused the Black Spot fire, the same fire that we hear mentioned in the It films that occurred in 1962, and that we will definitely be seeing happen in this season of Welcome to Derry.
Boy.
Now, the Black Spot was a nightclub where black
Him.
soldiers from a nearby...
That's what someone told me. They said his character, I gotta hear his name again, but was in The Shining. And I didn't know Stephen King's projects had some kind of connection. It and The Shining. Hopefully he breaks some of that down. If not, let me know what connects when it comes to the Stephen King stuff. All right.
base were able to...
Because Lone told me that didn't really break it down.
The rampant racism.
He just said that he was in The Shining.
Maddie is picked up by a passing car that seems to be carrying your average family. But the nearby base were able to socialize without having to deal with the rampant racism that plagued Derry. So Maddie is picked up by a passing car that seems to be carrying your average family, but the pleasantness of these seemingly kind people immediately sticks out like a sore thumb in Derry. On the car radio, we hear mention of Moscow nuclear tests and the radiation these tests can cause, leading to cancers, genetic mutations, and birth defects, teasing the arrival of the mutated winged baby. Now, this family likely consists of past victims of It, and It is now using them in his mimic arsenal. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if these actors appear in future seasons of this series that will go back in time 27 years every season. The young boy is named Ray, which could be a reference to the character of Ray Garrity from another of Stephen King's works, The Long Walk.
Oh, that's right, The Long Walk was his.
Screen for the first time ever, despite it being one of King's very first works. And look, to be clear, no, I'm not saying this kid is Ray Garrity. I'm just saying that, it might be a fun nod to that character. Then again, when you've written as many characters as Stephen King, you're bound to have a reused name here and there. All of this is to say, check out my ending explained for The Long Walk. There's also the character of Ray Brower, who's an even more likely candidate for reference from King's works. Ray Brower is the dead kid in Stand By Me who was hit by a train, or so they say. Now, in the car, things are immediately unsettling and give you the willies.
W-I-L, Ray.
And you'll notice that when Arlene interrupts Ray's spelling of Willies, it's right after the first L, and when he picks back up, he spells L-I-E-S.
Yeah, lies.
Lies.
L-I-E-S. That's right.
This is another hint that Maddie is being deceived. Now, It is notoriously foul and vulgar, and that begins to bleed through when we hear the mom call the daughter a harlot.
Yeah, that's that shocked me.
Reminds me of her mother.
I was like,
I love seeing them look back
Pennywise
into
about
Derry
to do
despite
something.
having not turned around. Very creepy and eerie, and it's a great visualization of the recurring loop or cycle of It that this series will be exploring over the seasons with the every 27 years emergence of the entity. We also got this great shot where the kid's eyes begin to cross, and it looks just like this shot from It Chapter 2 when Pennywise is preying on this girl under the bleachers. Now, we see the mom's belly begin to swell up like a balloon, one of Pennywise's favorites, and then we get, well, this.
Disgusting. Yes.
Now, while Pennywise is its most well-known form amongst Derry residents, it has taken on many other forms, and it will morph into whatever you fear the most. As we just discussed, Maddie obviously has some regressive and repressed trauma related to when he himself was an infant, so it makes sense that this creepy infant is what It concocted to scare Maddie. And the wings could also symbolize how Maddie has always just wanted to fly away and get out of Derry, get away from his home life. And this mutated baby also connects to the conspiracy of mutated babies that we just heard mention of on the radio, and that is later mentioned by Phil, all still surrounding that fear of nuclear war in the 1960s. Now, this winged baby is actually from the novel. In one of Mike Hanlon's recollections of Derry's dark history, remember, Mike Hanlon is a member of the Losers Club, whose grandfather that we actually meet in this episode. Anyway, in this account from the novel, we hear...
That's the grandfather? Oh, hold up.
Derry's dark history. Remember, Mike Hanlon is a member of the Losers Club, whose grandfather...
Oh, so him...
that we actually meet in the...
Okay. I need to watch those movies again so I can remember some names.
This episode.
Because I'm bad at remembering
in this
the names.
account from the novel, we hear a group of men describe seeing a baby-like creature with leathery wings, rotting flesh, and yellowish eyes flying over Kitchener Ironworks, another location that would fall victim to the terror of It. So then we see Maddie is of course taken by It, and we see his pacifier floating down the infamous tunnel to the depths of Derry where It resides. Now, water is a major part of not only the tragedies of Derry and its terror, but throughout Stephen King's other works as as well. We've actually got a great video up on the channel right now. It's an oldie but a goodie, breaking down why water scares us so much and how Stephen King and those who've adapted his stories into film have utilized water as a universal fear. Now, my take on it is that water, like it, is without true form. It can take any form, just like it, and water can fill any place it inhabits, completely taking over the same way that it fills your mind with fear and finds its way into every corner, revealing all of your greatest fears and your deepest, darkest secrets.
I know your secret, your dirty little secret.
I ain't gonna front. The characters, the Losers Club in the movies were definitely, Pennywise was definitely, how should I say it? Pennywise cared for the kids more in the movies than he did in the TV show, because when you see what he does to the kids in the TV show compared to the movies, you're like, you going soft, Pennywise? That's what it looked like. I mean, I didn't say that in a bad way. It's just when you see the show and then you see the movie, you're like, and I remember a lot of scenes from the movie. I'm like, there was a lot of moments he could have taken care of them kids, and he didn't. It was like he had a soft spot for them before he took them out. I don't know what it was, but when you see this show, you're like, wait, this is the same Pennywise from the movies? Dang. And I don't say that in a bad way. This is a really good
also
way.
The fact that water is always
it's just, let's just say he's more aggressive in the prequels than he is in the movies.
From the sky, which could be a depiction of falling from grace. And that water always finds itself down beneath the surface. And that's, of course, where the sewers come into play for Pennywise. And the sewers, of course, represent hell. Okay, so next we get a nice wide shot of 1960s Derry, and we can see Phil watching military planes go by. He then looks at his Tom Corbett Space Cadet wristwatch, a popular series from the 50s that was on radio and TV and also had comic books, and we actually see one of those comic books later in the episode. Next, we meet Leroy Hanlon, the grandfather of Losers Club member Mike Hanlon, whom we've actually met before in the 2017 It.
You need to start taking more responsibility around here, Mike. Your dad was younger than you when he...
I'm not my dad, okay?
Russo says,
But there's 0 nightclubs in this town. Probably not one decent Chinese restaurant.
a fun nod to the Chinese restaurant that we would later see in It Chapter
Well, I guess
2.
that spoils it that he's
here's
going to
where it
live
gets
in this
good.
prequel.
You see this guy? That's the actor Chris Chalk, who is confirmed to be playing Dick Halloran, aka this dude from The Shining.
Do you know how I knew your name was Doc?
Wait.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Now, in the It novel, Dick is introduced as an army cook, and he's a member of the Black Spot, and he is present for the fire that is started by the White Legion. And using his shine, Dick was able to save several lives from the fire that night. The shine being a psychic ability that many of King's characters have, including the young Danny from The Shining. Now, the shine also gave Dick the ability to see Pennywise for what it was and sense the presence of its evil. Now, later, after the Black Spot fire, the military and local authorities would cover up the attack, claiming that it was an accidental fire. But Dick Halloran knows the truth, both about the White Legion and something else that was there that night, something even worse. When he tells the story years later, he admits that he's never stopped feeling the evil in Derry and that he has never gone back. I would assume that he didn't end up feeling something as evil as it until later in life when he took the head chef job at the Overlook Hotel. Okay, it's also here
I gotta look at that movie
military
again.
base
I
that
forgot
we
all
mentioned
about
of
that.
Special projects.
Sir, what's that about? That's special projects.
Now, in other works by King, like Firestarter, The Mist, and Dreamcatcher, secret military bases have dealt with alien visitors just like Phil insists is happening.
Obviously, we're not alone in the universe, right?
In Dreamcatcher, the US military operates a secret containment and research facility. The base is part of the government's attempt to contain and study an alien infestation that spreads through spore-like parasites and psychic infection, which, I mean, that is pretty much it. That's what it is. An alien from outer space that has come to Earth and infects the human mind. Now, while King has never said that Mr. Gray from the Dreamcatcher book and it are the same entity, it's a pretty popular fan theory that they might be one and the same, especially considering that they're both in Derry. Now, Warner Bros., which owns the film and TV rights to it, they also have the rights to Dreamcatcher. So maybe we're going to see an even more evident connection.
But I gotta watch The Shining again to remind myself of that scene. I forgot totally me about
projects. Okay, so here on this sign in front of the school, we see mention of Bert the Turtle, and then inside we see a full-on mascot and these duck and cover signs.
Just for no
This is
reason,
all
bad
from the
kid.
Real World campaign for Duck and Cover, which was an animated film featuring Bert the Turtle that teaches kids what to do in the event of a nuclear attack.
He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered.
And you would think the mascot for Duck and Cover would be a duck, but then again, I get the turtle, he's going into his shell, so it makes sense. But there's, of course, something special about a turtle warning kids of what to do when hellfire rains on Derry, and I'm, of course, referring to the creator of the universe, its polar opposite, Maturin, the giant space turtle. You see, before time itself existed, there were two beings, Maturin the turtle, the giver of life, and it, the consumer. And this isn't the only Maturin Easter egg in this episode. Later, we'll actually see this turtle charm that Lily calls lucky and that she clutches when remembering Maddie because it was Maddie who gave her the charm in the first place.
Got turtle. Trade you?
And that turtle is, of course, also meant to represent Maturin and him being the polar opposite of it. Now, in the school, we also see this poster for the Derry Rifle Club. That is an actual club from the book. And we hear mention of Florida.
I said we can come down any weekend we want this summer. Cousin Ray said they have a bunch of parties at the beach that are crazy.
This could be a fun nod to how Stephen King spends his winters in Florida.
We live half of the year in Florida. Now, I didn't really want to go, but once you get to be 65 and you don't play tennis very well, it's the law.
Now, here in this hangar scene, we get a reminder of the racism that plagues Derry and that is intensified by the presence of it when Airman Masters refuses to salute Hanlon.
Do I make myself clear?
I'll get you next time, brother.
And we got another Stephen King reference when Phil says,
I was just thinking that, I know you're a story guy, but when he comes to Earth...
King is notorious for describing himself as the type of writer that hates plot and is more focused on dialogue and character interaction and just letting the story flow instead of plotting out the story before he starts writing it. Now, here in the boys' bedroom, we can see a Creature from the Black Lagoon poster, a fun nod to it, taking the form of the Creature of the Black Lagoon in the book. Now, as we saw in the It movies, the Losers Club consists of kids who have experienced tragedy and trauma, and the same is true for this group of kids, Lily especially. Her father died in a machine accident 1 year prior, and Lily is now viewed as crazy by her peers because she spent time in Juniper Hill, likely following a mental breakdown after the brutal death of her father. Now, Juniper Hill is an asylum featured in several of King's works, including Insomnia, Needful Things, The Dark Half, and of course, It. We actually see this asylum in It Chapter 2, and that is where Eddie Bowers, the Losers Club bully and fellow victim of It, was sent after he killed his father, which was a murder that was provoked by It. Next comes the infamous pipes and the voices of the children that come from them. Almost all of Derry's children are familiar with the voices that come from the pipes, but its lurking evil presence makes the residents of Derry almost numb and purposely blind and blissfully, maybe blissfully is not the right word, but blissfully ignorant to the evil lurking below and the frequent tragedies that occur. It's really a warping of the mind that it does to shield itself from the outside world. So not only does it feed on the people of Derry, but it uses them as a human shield. Now, back at the school in this bathroom stall, we can see written on the door a boy's name and a heart. That boy is none other than Alvin Marsh,
How did
the
you
father
even
of
catch
Losers
that?
Club alum Beverly Marsh. And it is fitting that we see his name here in the bathroom stall
Wait, I'm
because
sorry.
a bathroom stall.
I was just shocked how you actually
is
found
none
that.
other than Alvin Marsh, the father of Losers Club alum Beverly Marsh. And it is fitting that we see his name here in the bathroom stall because a bathroom stall is also where we met his daughter, Beverly, for the first time in It. And while that's a super cool Easter egg, Alvin Marsh is a total piece of shit. I just want that on record. Now, Lily also has parallels to Beverly throughout
didn't
the
like him
episode,
at all.
such as her
For good
encounter
reason,
with it
obviously, if
in
you know
her
what I'm
bathroom
talking
at
about.
home through the drain pipes, just like Beverly's first encounter with it. And I love these parallels that they are drawing between these kids in 1962 who are about to fight It and the Losers Club who would fight It 27 years later because, again, it is showcasing the entire theme of this series, recurring evil. Speaking of parallels, we even have this parallel between Stan and Ted, with them both being young Jewish boys prepping for their first bar mitzvah. But come the end of the episode, we realize that we aren't getting just some rehash of the Losers Club.
Nope,
because
not at all.
The 5 kids end up
Not
being
at all.
murdered, even Lily
That's
and
why I
Ron.
said he was
Now,
way
I
more
may have
aggressive
missed
in the
it. I
show
watched
than he was
episode
in the
twice, and
movie.
I still may have missed it, but I know
Ain't no
Ted's
Losers
gone,
Club this
and
time.
I know
Goodness
Phil's little
gracious.
sister's gone. Bill might have made it. We'll just have to see. Now, anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Here, we can see Ted reading a Batman and Robin comic featuring Clayface as the villain, and it reads, Batman and Robin defied the menace of Clayface, and here we're reminded that Clayface can, quote, mold his body into any shape. This is a great and intentional choice of comic book because Clayface, like Pennywise, is essentially a shapeshifter. Clayface uses this ability to deceive his prey, just like it. And today, on the same day that this first episode of It Welcome to Derry dropped, James Gunn, the head of DC Studios, posted this on Instagram. A picture of the same comic book cover, and he captioned it with, "Happy anniversary to the perennially misunderstood villain, Clayface. Can't wait for you to see Tom Rees-Harry's bring him to life on the big screen." And this makes me wonder, since James Gunn also works under Warner Brothers, and this It Welcome to Derry series is under Warner Brothers, perhaps they had some collaboration in having these fun DC comic Easter eggs in
I ain't
the
gonna
show.
front. I ain't
Then
that
with the
thrilled
terrifying
about a
skin lamp
Clayface
scene,
movie. I'll check it out, but I ain't thrilled about it. I prefer him just being a Batman villain.
Form of what they fear most.
A Batman movie,
I mean. Learned about the concept of his ancestor's skin being. This is yet another example of it entering the mind of its prey and taking on the form of what they fear most. Ted had just learned about the concept of his ancestor's skin being used for lamps by the Nazis, and this new fear was immediately used by it to terrorize him. In a meeting between Shaw and Hanlon, Shaw says,
"Told me the proudest moment of his life was when I signed up to be a doughboy."
This being a nickname for soldiers that emerged most prominently during World War I. Next, we see the kids regroup at the Derry Public Library, just like young Ben in the first It and the entire Losers Club in It Chapter 2. In the library, we can see this book in the background that has Hitler's ugly mug on the front. This symbolizes the lurking evil of Pennywise and ties back into Ted's fears as a young Jewish boy and America's fear of outside tyrants following World War II and the current Cold War of the 60s and this new nuclear age that was spawned by America when they ended World War II with Oppenheimer's nuclear bomb. And I loved getting to see them use this old microfilm reader. Very neat. So back with Hanlon, we see him too reading a newspaper, and here we see mention of that Paul Bunyan monument being built. We also see this article about a Derry man dying in a car crash, a reminder of the constant tragedies that are occurring in Derry. Now, Hanlon is attacked by masked men who want specs on the new plane that he is overseeing.
I ain't gonna front. That scene, I thought he was being messed with by Pennywise, and then as it was going on, I'm like, oh, this is real. Oh, shoot. So they had, excuse me, sorry, that took me by surprise. I thought that was a
moment who these
nightmare
guys
or something
exactly,
that Pennywise
but the
was
masks
doing
they have on are making me wonder if they are the Blue Boy group from Dreamcatcher. In Dreamcatcher, we see a special military unit referred to as the Blue Boy Group investigating an alien invasion in Derry. Maybe that story is being adopted into this series and they're investigating the alien invasion of It. And we could see a connection or maybe even a merging of the character of It and
they're going all in on this show
as one entity from the cosmos that plagues Derry, Maine. Or they could be the Shop, another secret military group from Stephen King's books. And I think the secret military group in Dreamcatcher is also probably a version of the Shop. Again, you know, a lot of King's works have straight up like crossover, but there's also in Stephen King's works where you'll see a lot of similar characters or groups of characters or stories and stuff like that that aren't like labeled as the exact same thing or the same name, but they're so similar that you could argue, oh, that's actually the same. So I wouldn't be surprised if we learned that they're the same thing. Now, the Shop, it's another notorious like secret military group in the King universe that was behind the events of like The Mist. I think they also appeared in Firestarter, and they appeared in Tommyknockers. And in Tommyknockers, we see them digging up like a crashed alien spaceship in a small town in Maine. So again, you could see how that could all tie into It. Now, in this wide shot of Derry, we can see Nan's Luncheonette and Quality Meats, both being staples of the Stephen King universe. Back at the movie theater, we see on the marquee that The Devil at 4 O'Clock is playing, and we can also see this poster for Wild Westerners.
And then we get the projector scene.
Guys, I did a whole video on the projector scene from the 2017 It, where I discussed how it was the most crucial scene of that entire movie, and served as the key moment that the Losers Club truly bonded together in their quest to destroy Pennywise. Now, in that scene, we see It infest the projector reel, and it is doing the same thing here with Maddie via the projector.
Different outcome,
also see
though.
Behind him, the family from the car earlier in the episode.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Projector reel, and it is doing.
I just saw Maddie. I didn't even see the other family
via the projector, and we can.
Oh wow! I had no idea the family was right there next to him.
Also see behind him the
I'm about to
family
watch that
from the
episode
car
over again.
earlier in the episode. we see Maddie's face begin to morph into that of Pennywise.
And that's when the
taking
craziness
on the
start right
exact same
there.
smile as the dancing clown, and this is paralleling how Pennywise did the same thing with Bill's mother in the movies.
And I ain't gonna front. That's when that scene in the movie, not the TV show part, but when Pennywise showed up on the screen, I was like, he could have attacked the kids there and taken them out, like just like this, the same way. But like I said, he must have had a soft spot for him.
Baby
the plot
burst
did
from the screen, just like Pennywise does in the original projector
right
scene.
there,
and I
taking
think,
them out.
Just like that scene in the It movie, that this projector scene in the series will serve as perhaps the most crucial scene of the season, bringing together Lily and Ronnie in their fight against It. But hey guys, those are just the Easter eggs and references and little things that I caught in this episode of It. Welcome to Derry. I'm so excited
That's
to be covering
crazy
this
though.
show.
That
We're going to be covering every episode, so if you're new here, be sure to subscribe.
All right, but yeah, that I'm excited to see more of what happens. I got to check every episode and see what he breaks down. But I wonder, because I always was told that Stephen King's library, I should say, of his projects are huge, that it can fill a whole house. I just never researched for myself because all these references to different Stephen King projects, I'm like, dang, bro. How much do you actually have? I'm going to have to research that for myself. I've always known growing up that Stephen King had a lot of projects, but I never knew like all the books and all like the movies that are made. I realized there's some TV shows that are from him. I'm like, dang, Stephen King was a busy dude. Hey, shout out to you, because I wonder his point of view, seeing all his projects come to life since the 80s. His movies and just projects in general have been going on since the 80s, right? I wonder, like, the mind of him to see all that he put in, all these weird stories come to life. Because I ain't gonna front, he does have a lot of weird stories, but it works. I always say it could be weird. It doesn't matter as long as it works and his work. And yeah, I wonder now at his age, he's sitting back and watching the TV show or whatever, seeing all these references. How does he feel? That's just a cool thought. But anyway, I'll put the original video of the Screen Crush channel. I'll put the original video description below. But yeah, let me know what you think. I am excited for episode 2. I'm definitely going to watch it and get my review on that. But yeah, I'll see y'all later.